Today we're learning about arcs and chords, lesson 12-2. All right? Lesson 12-2, arcs and chords. So the first thing that we have to learn about is called a central angle and an arc. So take a look right there at the top of the screen, or the top of your page. Okay. A central angle is an angle whose vertex is the what of the circle? Look, here's the central angle. Here's the central angle. You see that angle there? So the vertex is there. Where is that in terms of the circle? It's at the what of the circle? Radius.
Radii?
No. These are both radii, that's very good, but where's the vertex? Not the middle,
The central.
The center. Center. Very good. So the vertex, the vertex here is at the center. That's why it's called a central angle, because its vertex is at the center of the circle. All right?
What's the central?
It has to do with triangles. All right. Now, an arc is the part of the blank of a circle between 2 points. So here's an arc. You see, here's 2 points. Here's what's called a minor arc because it goes directly between those 2 points in the angle. And the major arc goes the other way. You see? Outside of the angle.
Like the Pac-Man.
Yeah, kind of like Pac-Man. So the arc, the minor arc, is this. Does that make sense? So what is this? What do you call this of a circle? The perimeter. Not the you don't call this. You would call it perimeter when it's got sides, but a circle you call it what?
Diameter.
Circumference. Very good. So an arc is the part of the circumference of a circle between 2 points. Okay. Circumference. Okay. An arc is the part of the circumference of a circle. So you see how that's an arc? Does that make sense? You guys think of arc, arches, arc. That's an arc. Does that make sense? You get it? Arc. That is an arc. Got it? Okay. Now moving forward. Let's learn about arcs. Arcs and their measure. God bless you. All right. A minor arc is an arc whose points are on the interior of a central angle. You see that, bam? Minor arc. The measure of a minor arc is equal to the measure of the central angle. We measure arcs in degrees. Are you on your cell phone right now? No. Just making sure.
What?
You don't have your cell phone in your hand?
No, it's my chart. Oh,
That's
because I get stressed
I can
out.
tell. Oh,
I'm just calming myself down.
Everyone's looking at you. I'm like, I took your word for it immediately, but then everyone's like smirking. I'm like, what are they laughing about? It's cool, man. That's really cool. I kind of like that. Where'd you get that? I want to show you.
I have no idea.
Nice.
It was my sister's room.
Does its tongue come out?
It's
It
a
goes
foot.
like,
Oh, that's pretty intense. All right, so that's really cool. All right, I like that. So look, an arc is measured in degrees. So now let me ask you something, guys. Let me ask you something. If I have a circle, if I have a circle, it's a regular old circle, right? Well, that's not a very good circle, but okay, you don't have to laugh at me. Gosh.
You acknowledged it, so what am I going to say?
True. All right. All right.
Is it that funny?
Okay. So, if I have a circle like this, and I go all the way around it, what do you think the measure of that arc would be? 360. Very good. And if I went halfway around it?
180.
180. Good. And if I went a quarter of the way?
Yeah.
90 degrees. Okay. So the measure of the arc would be 360, but it's not just 360. Look, if I have an angle, check this out. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Watch this. So let's say I have an angle like this. Shh, shh, shh. Let's say I have an angle like this. Okay? All right. And this angle is x degrees. Okay? Well, this arc length, this arc measure here is the same number of degrees as the angle. Okay? So this here, if I call this y degrees, x and y are the same. Does that make sense to you guys? So if this is like 40 degrees, then this is 40 degrees. If this is 100 degrees, this is 100 degrees. Does that make sense to you guys? Is that any questions on that? Okay. Now, another thing is, let's say I slice up my pizza pie. Okay. Let's say I got a little pizza pie here, and I slice it up. I slice it up into a bunch of slices. Pokeball?
You have to put a circle.
Oh, you have to do it like right at
Wait,
the top.
what's a Pokeball?
What?
I know what it is, but I thought it was a circle.
It's it's a circle.
It's a circle in the middle.
It's a ball that catches
I played Pokemon Go.
Pokemon.
Okay. Shh, shh, shh. All right, Pokemen and Pokewomen.
I wanna be.
Okay. So, first off, now look, I have these pizza slices, and there's 8.
It's actually really good.
Thank you. And I'm interested in finding the measurement of this arc. Okay? Well, how many pizza slices are there in this pizza? 8. So each one of these angles will be how much of 360?
25.
In terms of a fraction? 1/8. Very good. So look, if I want to find that arc length, I do 1/8 times 360.
Wait, what's 8 times 25?
1/8 times 360, I'd get 360 divided by 8 is 45 degrees.
Thought you were right.
So that arc is 45 degrees. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that arc is 45 degrees. Is that pretty clear? All right.
Wait, you times it?
By 1/8. Mhm. So a major arc is the opposite. So the measure of the minor arc is equal to this angle. The measure of the major arc is 360 minus that angle. Does that make sense to you guys?
Minus or divide?
What?
Minus or divide?
Minus. So that's a different kind of concept though. This is the angle, equal to angle. This is 360 minus this angle because it's the other part of the circle, you see? Okay, and then it says here, if it's a semicircle, then it's 180 degrees. All right? Now, using what I just told you, though, let's take a look at this.
R&B.
Let's take a look at this. So here we've got a pie chart or circle graph that shows the type of music sold during 1 week at a music store. It says find the measure of BC. So BC, the arc is what goes from B to C. That's pretty easy to tell, right? Does that make sense? Now, if I want to find the measure of that arc, I know that that's 13% of the circle, right? So how could I find the measure of that arc?
Take it out of 360.
Well, I take 360, and then what do I multiply it by?
23.
0.13, because that's 13%. Does that make sense?
Or can you do 13 over 100?
Yeah, you could do 13 over 100, but if you just do that, look, 0.13. So it's 0.13 times 360, that's the measure of the arc, 46.8 degrees. Does that make sense?
Wait.
Out of 360.
Yeah, so this right here, that arc is 46.8 degrees. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? No? Okay. Now this next one, number 1A, says find the measure of FMC. So FMC is this angle here. This angle here. Well, if I want to find that angle, look, it's 9 plus 10 is 19 plus 11 is 20. So it's, I'm sorry, 30. So it's 30% of 360.
Wait. What about 3?
No,
What?
that's for Pat.
Look.
Yeah, that's for possible.
FMC here only includes 9%, 10%, and 11%, you see? So,
Oh,
so
the
that's
3 was
30.
from classic.
Yeah. So that's 30% of 360, so I do 0.13 times 360, or 0.3 times 360, and I get 108. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? No? All right, do number 1B and 1C now. Yes? Yeah, I gotta be right back. I gotta grab my charger. 1B and 1C, stay on task.
What happened? For real, you guys are so flawed.
Did he mean mine?
Huh?
Did he mean mine?
No, you timed it.
I didn't know.
He hugged me because of all of you.
Math.
I don't even know where I got it.
Exactly.
Did you guys do it? 1B and 1C? I hope so. I hope you're done with it already.
I mean,
Wait. A-H.
Now,
Does
A.
A-H-B mean go all the way around?
Yeah, now, look, class. All right, let's be quiet. AHB, what does AHB mean? Well, H is not at the center, so it goes A, H, B. So everything except for rock. You see that? So I shouldn't add all these up. I just do 75%. So it's 0.75 times 360, which is equal to 270. See? And then the last one is EMD. EMD is just that segment here, which is just 10%. So 0.1 times 360, which is just 36 degrees. You see that? You guys understanding how to do that? Okay, that's just a little element of it, and we understand that the central angle and the arc length have the arc measure have the same measure. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, 10%, which is 0.1. So that's why it's 30 degrees. Okay, so Kahoot time. Or actually, I gotta try and get through a little bit more of this lesson before we jump into Kahoot. So I'm sorry. Okay. Arc addition postulate. This is really simple, guys. Look.
Wait, no Kahoot?
Not yet. Look, if I take AB, the measure of arc AB, and the measure of arc BC, if I measure from A to C, well, the measure of arc A to C is equal to AB plus BC. Does that make sense? You just add them. All right? I think that's pretty simple. Yeah, because look, I mean, even if you just look at it, it's I think it's pretty obvious, right? Look, you just add them together. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's take a look here. All right. Are you guys following along on the papers?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on, I believe, the third page now, or second page? Just the second page? Yeah, we're just on the second page now. Okay, so it says, find the measure of Jkl. Well, let's take a look at this. The first one. Jkl, well, here's J, here's K, and here's L. So I have to find the measure of all of these. Well, look, this is 25. This one here is 25 degrees. So what does that mean about this one? Look, if this here is 25, look, I'm trying to find this whole thing here, right? If this is 25, what's this?
25.
25, because those are what kind of angles?
Whatchamacallit?
Vertical. Very good. So I already know it's 25 degrees, but then I have to figure out this bit here. So how do I find out this bit? Well, look, this green plus this, that all makes a straight line. You see that? These three angles make a straight line. So this would be 40 plus 25 plus this green angle, I'll call it x, equals what?
65.
No.
I mean,
180, because look, this whole thing makes a straight line. You see? That's half a circle. Okay? So this is 65 plus x equals 180. I subtract 65, and I get x equals 115. Okay? So that green angle here is 115, so it's 25 plus 115 equals 140.
But wouldn't it be minus 25 because the other side has
No, look,
25 already?
look. These three angles add up to make a straight line, you see? So this one plus this one plus this one equals 180.
Yeah.
So 40 plus 25 plus x equals 180.
Oh wait, what were we trying to find again?
So
Jkl.
Jkl, which is this red one here.
Oh.
So I got to solve for this one, and I do, using this formula. I get that this is 115,
Yeah.
and then I add that to my 25 degrees to get the whole thing. Okay? Now the next one, the measure of angle Ljn. Well, let's take a look. Ljn is this whole thing from here to here. Well, wait a second, that's easy. If this is 40 and that's 25, that's 65, and this is the rest of
Why
it.
is that about 360?
So I just do 360
120.
minus 40 and 25 is 65. You guys understanding that?
Equals 295.
Good. So this arc from L through J to N is everything except for these two segments. You see that? So it's 360, but take away this bit. And that bit I know is 65 degrees because that's 40 and that's 25. Does that make sense? Matthews, you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 360 minus that and that. And so I get 295 degrees. Is that pretty clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, next, moving forward. What this says in the long run, guys, is that, look, if I've got two chords and I tell you they're congruent, so I say RS is congruent to TU. These two chords, you see them? What makes them a chord, first off?
Yeah, like, because they're kind of inside together.
The end points are on circumference, right? It goes from one side of the circle to the other. You know, one part of the circumference to the other, right? So these two chords, if these two chords are congruent, then the measure of their arcs are congruent. Does that make sense? The chords are congruent, the measure of the arcs are congruent. Now, if I want to find the measure of the arc, what should I do with these two? Set them equal. Set them equal to each other. And so I set them equal, and that's what it goes through in this example. So I end up with 3x equals 2x plus 27. Subtract 2x from both sides. I get x equals 27. You see? This becomes 3 times 27, which is equal to 81. You see that? Does that make sense? Now also, it says these two circles are congruent and their arcs are congruent. Well, that means that these angles are congruent. That makes sense? If the arc measures are congruent, then the angles are congruent, right? So again, I would just set them equal to each other and solve. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if we look, oh man. So let's do one of these examples. All right. Let's do 3b. Let's do 3b. Here, these chords are congruent, so what do I know about the arc measures?
They're congruent.
And so I get 25y equals 30y minus 20. Okay? Subtract 30y from both sides. I get negative 5y equals negative 20. Divide by negative 5. I get y equals 4. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay. All right. Now, there's another part of this lesson that I should get to. And we're not going to be able to do the Kahoot or the quiz today, I don't think. This is all being recorded, so you can copy it really quick, real quick.
The abstract art or whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
Like the weird.
Now, everybody turns to the last page of your handout, please. This is part of the most challenging part of this lesson, but it's okay. All right, so it's actually not so tough. Okay. So, what this says is that if I have a chord and it's perpendicular to a radii, then this radii bisects the chord, you see? So it splits it in half. Does that make sense? Okay. So the question it's trying to ask me for is BD. Okay? So how do I find BD? Well, it tells me that this is 3 and that's 2. Well, what does that mean about this whole length right there? 5. And what is that for the circle?
10 radii.
A radii, right? It's radii. So what does that mean about this length here? It's also 5, right? So what do I end up with? I end up with a right triangle. This is 5 and this is 3, right? Well, if I want to find BD, I have to find this. I'll call it X. And then double it. Does that make sense? Well, how do I find X if I've got a right triangle? Got 2 sides, I need to find the third.
You time
No, you square them both. You square them both, so it would be 3
Pythagorean Theorem. Guys, when I have a right triangle, listen to me, when I have a right triangle and I'm trying to find the third side, I use Pythagorean Theorem.
3 squared.
3 squared plus 4 squared, I'm sorry,
I
3
got this,
squared
y'all.
plus x squared equals 5 squared. 3 squared is 9,
Wait, hold up.
plus x squared equals 25. Subtract 9 from both sides, I get x squared equals 16.
Square that.
Square root of that, I get x equals 4. So this ends up being 4, right? So if that's 4, how long is BD? Yeah, it's just doubled it. 2 times 4 equals 8, and that's your final answer. Does that make sense? Any questions? You guys want to try to Kahoot real quick?
Yes.
All right, we don't have a lot of time. I know that was really fast. No, like 3 minutes.
No, it's not. It's fast.
That clock is
Super fast.
You guys got to be quick. 'Cause we only have like 2 minutes, literally. Quickly, quickly. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right. Find the measure of arc PQ. Okay, so PQ is this. It's 45%. So what do? You do 360 times 0.45, which is excuse me. Thank you. 360 times 0.45 is 162. Nice. Shh. Don't pack up just yet. Don't pack up just yet. Just stay with me. Stay with me. Okay, find the measure of arc FAD. FAD is from here to here. Look, if this is 90 degrees, you already know this one. This one, you have to find this one to get this one. 90 minus 51 is 39. So this is 39. 39 plus 90 is 129. All right. Thank you. Sorry we had to run through. Guys, your homework is on my CCA, okay? Don't do the quiz. Just do the homework. Homework's on my CCA. Make sure you do it.
I'm just gonna guess. I put scissor pen.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, you did it right. Let's see who's next.